Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to our first episode of Waterfed Wednesday. Glad to have you guys on board.
Welcome, everybody.
Feel free to chat. Make sure we're coming across good. Let us know if you can hear us. Let us know where you're at. We'd love to see if you're outside of the U.S., just the U.S., wherever you're at. Let us know. But we want to welcome to the first episode. We have a topic today that was brought to us. Shout out to Jamie Hallman. He wanted to know about the max output. So let's put that up here on the screen. So our today's topic is going to be the Tucker max output and RO membrane technology. So Sean, ready for the first question?
Yeah, let's do it.
First question here. So why, with the max output, why did we decide to build a high output mobile cart?
Yeah, good question. Years ago, we used to make a dual RO system in the H2 Pro platform, and we targeted that towards the solar panel cleaning industry. And the market was still sort of evolving, I would say, in terms of the high output need for systems in that space. So the sales really weren't there to support the effort. And the max output is really designed around the idea of some of our larger brushes for solar panel cleaning. So, like the Alpha 20 Solar, it's got dual rinse bars. So you're talking about 40 inches of rinse bar on that thing. You really need a really high output system. So when we look at, what's going to power these brushes and what's going to be able to deliver enough water for solar panel cleaning, that's when we got back into the high output dual RO systems. And the one that you see today presented as the max output.
What do you think is a typical customer for this? Or when should they decide to buy this?
Yeah, so we're seeing some crossover. There's commercial focused window cleaning outfits. The max output off of standard water pressure will put out 3+ gallons a minute, right? So being a window cleaner on a job, you typically only need about half a gallon a minute or so. And so anybody looking for high flow for a number of different applications, let's say solar is going to be 1 to 2 operators for this. Commercial window cleaning, you can put a garden hose splitter on the output of this system and run 3 poles, 50, 60 foot. So it'll keep up with all that in terms of the volume and the flow you need to really do that. I can't imagine too many residential focused window cleaning companies really getting into a max output system, kind of overkill for that. But yeah, definitely anybody looking for multiple operators on a commercial platform, whether it's solar or Windows.
Right. And speaking of Jamie, he hopped on there. So Jamie says, "Love this idea for the podcast. Thanks for the shout out, of course."
Hey, Jamie.
Good to see you. Going back to those questions. You mentioned the H2 Pro system. So let's talk about that. When would you choose the max output over the H2 Pro system? We're talking about 2 systems with the onboard pumps.
Yeah. So the two main differentiators between those 2 systems is the max output. All the filters are non-proprietary. Okay. So, you're going to have a customer that really sort of shies away from proprietary-esque filters. And there's pros and cons to proprietary filters, right? The carbon and DI filters that we manufacture for the H2 Pro are going to outperform the standard filters that are on non-proprietary systems. So there's a benefit there. Your cost per gallon is going to be lower on the proprietary systems. But the other differentiating factor with the max output is the dual RO at this point, right? So essentially everything else is pretty much the same. On the max output, you've got the DI saver mode, as we call it, which is RO only. So you have the ability to toggle RO versus RODI. But the dual RO really gives you that extra production. And the pre-filters on the max output, you can basically get anywhere. They're rated at about 5,000 gallons, being non-proprietary off the shelf. Whereas, the pre-filter on the H2 Pro is more like 80 to 100,000 gallons. So obviously a big difference there in terms of how often you have to change those filters out. But I think the main issue or the main difference between those systems is features regarding flow. The max output is higher. It's got a built-in dual TDS meter. But the H2 Pro obviously has been a standard for about 10, 12 years for us in terms of a water system with a built-in motor and pump.
Right on. It looks like we got Kevin Hargis in over at our Facebook business page.
There's only one sleeveless wonder.
There's only one sleeveless wonder. So shout out to Kevin. All right. And just want to make sure we clarify, help people understand this DI saver mode. What does that do for them?
Yeah. So basically on either of those systems, you've got the ability to just toggle a valve. So, our RO technology, for the most part, is going to get your incoming water mineral count about 90 to 95% less than the incoming. So let's say your parts per million coming in is, 250 to 300. You're going to get your water out of our RO systems down around 20 in those situations. And on anything that's not sight glass, right? So sight glass is windows that you can look through. Anything that's not sight glass, be it solar panels or spandrels on a building, or signage, anything that you want to get a spot-free, quote unquote, finish on, you can work with 40 parts per million or less, right? So if you're not having to run that RO water through your DI and you can utilize the RO only, that cuts your cost of maintenance down exponentially. Yep. Because if you've been around RO DI systems for any length of time or studied them or looked at the different cost of running these things, your main expense is going to be your DI resin. Yep. And so that's what everybody's churning through. So if you can work with RO only on any of the applications outside of window cleaning, that's going to be great. And oftentimes, we'll test systems here. We've got 200-300 ppm depending on the time of year, the water, whether it's snow runoff with high mineral count or whatever the case may be here in Colorado. We were testing a max output before we shipped it a week or so ago, and it was getting it down to 4 parts per million. I mean, I would clean windows with that and just save my DI resin. So instead of the RO only tagline that a lot of people are used to, we've kind of branded it as the DI saver mode. So either of those systems basically has that built in. The Rival Pro's got that built in. So we have a number of systems that have that feature built in for the end user.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking for more information on the H2 Pro, it's something we brought back under the Tucker name and available at tuckerusa.com. Just made a video on that, and we'll have that published. I have it on my own YouTube channel, but look to see that on our business YouTube channel. And we'll probably have that out on our product page.
Yeah, the product page soon, yeah.
Kevin chiming in again. Saying yes, the DI saver will be great for solar.
What's up, Jake? Jake's in Lake Tahoe, I think. Jake's been a customer for a number of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks like he's watching on YouTube.
Over on Instagram, looks like Day Jobs on Instagram. He had a question. He just chimed in or just started the feed, so make sure he didn't miss anything. He said, "What's the difference between the max output that we're talking about and the 4060?"
Yeah. So, I mean, the primary difference between those two is the 4060 is going to have those proprietary pre-filters and post-filters. So you're going to have much longer, periods of time between changing those out, right? So that pre-filter on the 4060, for instance, is the same as the H2 Pro. You're going to get that 80 to 100,000 gallons of pre-filter compared to 5,000 gallon on most systems like the max output. Also, the 4060 doesn't have the built-in pump and motor. So you're dependent on line pressure. So the lower the line pressure coming from the facility, the less water you're going to get out of that system. Obviously, you could use one of our boost pumps or any of the boost pumps that you can find on the market today to increase that production. Yeah. The other primary difference is on the max output, you've got two 40-inch ROs. So you've got a total of 80 inches of RO membrane, whereas on the 4060, it's a little bit more compact of a unit, a little easier to get around and put back in the vehicle, but you've got 60 inches of RO membrane. So if you run the same boost pump on both of those, you're going to get more volume out of that max output. And again, the 4060 doesn't have the built-in DI saver mode either. Yeah. That's just running RO DI at all times.
Yeah. And
Good question.
Yeah. And if I recall when maybe a couple of years ago at the old building, we tested a 4060 with a pump on there. It's just the weight was, I think, a little too much. So I think you got the advantages with the max output we're talking about. Even it is a heavier system, but with the smaller pre-filters, it just overall weight helps out with the
Yeah,
end
for
user.
sure.
All right. Chappelle Pressure Washing over at Instagram says, I love my Tucker solar panel cleaning. So thank you for that shout out. Looks like Peter Cruz is giving us a hola. Hola to you. Let's take a look here. Yep. Right on.
Are y'all and Washco the same business? Good question. Washco is in Canada. Perfect Glass is asking. So Washco is in Canada. They're in the BC area. They're one of our dealers. So no, we don't own Washco. Washco is one of our dealers up in Canada. If you go to washco.ca or whatever the URL might be up that way, you'll find a lot of different brands on there. So they're one of our dealers in the BC area.
So if somebody wants exclusive Tucker stuff in Canada, where's the best place for them to go?
Tucker Canada. Yeah. So if you research Tucker Canada, you'll find all Tucker related products. Washco probably has them all, but you're going to get a mix of a number of different brands on that website. Whereas tuckercanada.ca probably is the URL for the guys up in that. They're in that same area. I believe they have a location over in the Toronto area as well. But we have distribution through Tucker Canada across Canada.
Okay, cool. Looks like Day Jobs is asking a follow-up question. Let me go over here and look. Looks like it says, does it work decent with a Tucker booster pump, referring to the 4060?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a lot of flow out of it. The main thing is, you've got a lot more weight. Alex alluded to the idea of at our old business, we built out a 4060 with a boost pump on it. It just gets a little bit too heavy. And from a design standpoint, there would, adding the boost pump kind of to the front of it, if you will, just made it cumbersome and large. But if you put that boost pump on that 4060, you're going to get upwards of 2 gallons or 3 gallons a minute out of that 4060 system.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, we were shooting well over 3 gallons. And at that old building, we had bad water and bad pressure.
Yeah, we sure did. It was not ideal for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, the Tucker hand carry booster pump will work great with the 4060. And just to kind of address, we always get this as a common question when people are looking into the Tucker booster pump system. It's something you put ahead of the system, not after. So you're wanting to increase that volume and pressure going into the system.
Yeah, you want to boost rather than siphon. RO membranes are not thrilled about the idea of being siphoned. You want to push water and pressure up against them.
Scrolling over to Instagram, we have people chiming in from Brazil. Hello to everyone in Brazil watching us.
Yep, shout out to Tucker Brazil, Rick and his crew there. Good dealer for us in Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, feel free to chime in if you guys have questions. This is great time to ask. We're here to answer your questions.
I'm glad you're running all these screens and keeping up with it. I don't know that I could do it.
It's a little overload. Let's see. I need to get my Google Translator. I'm getting some comments here from Brazil. My Portuguese is not that good. Chappelle Pressure Washing over on Instagram. They're from Conroe, Texas. Right on. We got Affordable Pressure Washing. They're down in the Rio Grande Valley. Shout out to them. We recently had you guys share that awesome picture of your skid mount system, or the wall mount is what we called. That's a great looking system.
Yeah, out of the back of the van there. That was a great shot. Thanks for sharing that with us.
All right. We have Jake chiming back in. He's watching from Big Bear.
Yeah, man.
Still winter.
It's almost 70 here today, but it's either almost 70 in Colorado right now or snowing 3 feet. So we try not to get too used to anything.
Yeah. And it's going to, I think the weather's getting worse.
Yeah, it's windy. So that means a change is coming.
Right on. Here we are. Peter Cruz chiming in from Las Cruces. Some of the worst hard water in the country. And Feba is watching from the group. and he's from Dallas, but he's enjoying Florida right now.
Must be down at PWMCA.
Yeah.
Wonder if he went there.
Let us know.
Let us know, Feba.
Or is it a vacation? All right. Our friends over at
TuckerCanada.com.
There you go.
I always get confused by that .ca.
Okay.
But it's .com.
Thanks for the correction.
Thanks for chiming in.
We also were talking about
PWMCA. Yeah.
Yep. PWMCA. Right on. Yeah. We're talking also, we're going to pop up the banner here. So do you want to talk about maybe direction of RO technology? Or we can save that for later.
Sure. I mean, RO technology has been pretty, what I would call stagnant for probably 10 years or so. I mean, we have really good relationships with large US based RO technology firms, and we try and keep up with what's the latest and greatest. Last year, fourth quarter, I went around and traveled and met up with just about all of our key raw material suppliers. So not our customers that are supplying the industry, but our suppliers to us, right? And coming out of COVID and the pandemic, one of the things that I realized was how important that supply chain is. So Atreyu and I went and visited with a number of companies, and we sat down about RO technology, and it's something that comes up a lot. I see some interesting claims come across my desk and my screen regarding what's possible with RO membranes, what you can do with them, what systems can do. And, if you look at RO membranes and you look at the supply of RO membranes outside of our industry, right? When you want to understand RO membranes and RO membrane technology, you can't look in the window cleaning industry, because everything is, how many poles can I run? How high can I work with that? And, that doesn't really relate to the technology itself. But if you look at it, they basically rate all of their membranes as gallons per day, right? So, and at what pressure? So it used to be, 80 PSI was the best membrane. Then it went to 60. Now you've got membranes on the market that operate basically optimally at multiple pressures, which is what I would consider the new technology in RO membrane world, right? The fact that it's not geared towards working at 100 PSI, but it will work well at a number of different pressures. That to me is new. The highest rated membranes made in the United States today are 3,500 gallons per day. So that's about 50% more increase in volume. We've been using that technology for a couple of years now, and I'm seeing it get introduced more and more in other systems on the market. We've seen a lot of membranes come from offshore, imports, where they claim higher than that. And, the thing that I always keep in mind is there's no legislative body or anything holding any of these people accountable, much less, people that are shipping things in from offshore as to, what the performance really is going to be. So, for instance, the max output makes what we say is 3 gallons a minute. Well, that means it's putting just about the same amount of water on the ground, right? Because RO membranes have a bypass and they have good water. Or, in the membrane world, they call that concentrate and permeate. So the concentrate water is that high mineral content water that gets dumped on the ground at Mrs. Smith's house or on the commercial job. Totally harmless, just high mineral content water. The permeate water is what either goes in the RO only mode up on the solar panel or onto the DI, right? So it's the permeate stream. And the way that if you talk to RO manufacturers, and if you told them, hey, we want to build a system around 1-to-1, right? 1 gallon of permeate to 1 gallon of bypass or concentrate, they would look at you and say, you're not going to get the life out of the membrane. Okay. You can do it though, right? But if you look at their specs, they'll say, the recovery rate is X. And usually what they're suggesting that you do is dump way more on the ground than goes on the window. And so if you were to manipulate the system and continue to close that concentrate stream off, right? Close off the water that's going on the ground, you would obviously increase your water going up the pole, but there's a diminishing return for the end user.
Right.
And we don't know what that is. And so basically what you might see is, oh, well, I used to get 2-3 years out of my membranes. Well, you might get that, or you might get way less, right? So our systems are not adjustable in that sense. It's like, you're either making water or you're not, right? You're cleaning or you're not cleaning. And so that's one of the things that I've kind of been noticing is kind of this, push towards less bypass water. But, the end result to the end user is still unknown, because are you going to get 3 months out of a membrane? Are you going to get 3 years? That's the questionable thing. But if you talk to RO membrane manufacturers and you tell them you want to do that, they'll tell you that you can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I'm seeing like introducing your wastewater.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I mean, that's there's other ways to do that too, right? So you can take the bypass water from your first membrane and you can dump it back into the second one to get higher output. But in the membrane world, what they will tell you is to only do that with 30% of the concentrate, not all of it, right? Because there's a point of diminishing return,
right?
And you're going to negatively affect that. And it sort of works in the same way as, back in the day before I got into RO systems and I had the window cleaning business, I had 2 DI tanks. They were both mixed bed. The first one would take the brunt of the abuse,
right? And
then the second one would be my polisher, right? And so in a RO setup where you take, a lot of the concentrate water and dump it into the second or the third RO, there's a diminishing return. And if you really want to geek out on, low bypass systems and designs, look into what they call CCRO systems. So letter C, RO. Those are automated systems that basically pinch off that bypass, but all the time while it's running, they're doing quick burst of flush. So it's opening itself all the time, which is obviously, to my knowledge, not being built into window cleaning systems today from a cost standpoint. But yeah, the technology itself, what you want to look for is gallons per day at what pressure. And, I'm a made in America guy, right?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't say that, I'm going to have a hard time with even buying into the specs that it's saying, much less putting my money down to support the brand, whatever it is behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing just popped in my head, as you mentioned, gallons per day and pressure. Sometimes, especially when I was more answering the phones daily here, sometimes you'll get guys' feedback. Hey, I just put in a new RO membrane and it's not putting out any water. And we do a little investigation. Oh, I got the membrane off of Amazon, and they didn't pay attention to the operating pressure.
The pressure. I mean, a lot of the lower cost ones are rated at 220, 250 psi, right?
Yeah.
So if you put groundwater pressure 40, 50 psi in there, it's going to make some water, but it's going to be very low.
Yeah.
Because it's designed around 250 psi. So you're not going to get much out of it. Cost is, $150, $200, but you're not going to get much through it.
Yeah. Over on Instagram, shout out to Reyes Solar Cleaning Solutions, greeting from Puerto Rico. We've got a large following in Puerto Rico. Glad to see you on board. Over here, back on Facebook, Window Cleaners of Brandon, Florida, sipping tea from my Tucker mug.
Nice.
He also chimed in with this question or the statement here. I'd love to see a push towards 10 to 30 gallon miniature fill and go style stuffs targeting 15 to 30 windows residential jobs with a smaller footprint in your vehicle. Now, we recently went to the IWCA show and we brought some prototype of stuff, and this might be up where he's talking about our little Moby 20-gallon system. So you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So, I think, the Moby 20-gallon system, we built one. We built 3 or 4, 5, 6 years ago, and they've been in the field, and it's just been something I've put on the back burner as we've been busy building the business and keeping up with core products. And there's obviously a large cost associated with product development and getting something out on the market. If we're going to release something, we've got to have quite a few of them ready to go when we release it from an availability standpoint. But one of the systems that we had there was an all-in-one 20-gallon tank that's on wheels that you can wheel around, and it's mobile, right? So if you've been doing water-fed work for a while, you know that 10, 20, 30 gallons will go a long way if you do it right. So it's got a built-in pump, flow controller, recharging system, all those kinds of things. And at the moment, it's on my desk to find my way back into production and make some more of them. But we have the ability to do that, and it's something that we plan to release in the spring here. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. I was one of the prototype users when I worked with Super Clean over at Gaylord of the Rockies. It's a place that had humongous facility. They had one spigot, then they brought on another one. So really having a system or anything close by, we can have our vehicles on there where our filling goes. So, and the water quality or production coming out of those spigots were horrible. So this Moby cart system was fantastic for that. And we used it up at that place. It was, I think the convention center was 3 stories tall, but we're talking 60-foot work. No problems at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same technology that's built into the $7,000-$8,000 fill and go systems in a mobile tank.
All right. So we are at 30 minutes. So for guys over on the East Coast, you're at 6 o'clock. Your wife's probably wondering why are you still on Facebook and not at the dinner table? So we're going to end it there. Our first episode of Waterfed Wednesday. We'll be back next week. Should we give them a sneak preview of what that's about, or just let them find out?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So we're going to talk about the Tucker Glide brush. So we'll go into detail of that new brush coming out. So,
yep, those will be available very soon here. So keep an eye on your email inbox. And if you're not subscribed to our email list, hop over to tuckerusa.com and subscribe so you can be up to date on the latest. But that's our topic for next week. And, DM us through the business page direct with any ideas for questions that you guys have. Send those along, and that'll give us content, because we're going to shoot for every week unless one of us isn't here, or both of us. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching this later on whatever platform that we're on, comment there. Got questions, we're going to look it over for topics for the upcoming episodes. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us today, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Take care.